Beautiful morning. Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve. My name is Mark and Becky's back. Becky's on camera. Tara's in final control. Seb's heading off to Joburg. He said so yesterday. If you missed that, he's going to do some editing for a week and he'll be back next week. And in the interim, Becky will be joining us again. Welcome back, Becky. Beautiful sunrise and some interesting behavior behind me. Let's have a look at that. And of course we've got another visitor that's come back as well. Well, not so much a visitor. This one's a resident, whose nickname is Billy No Mate. I did see him running across Zoe's Road the other day and haven't seen him. That was just a brief visual, and now he's back here on the open area. There's our wildebeest, surrounded by impala and a couple of zebra, but it's the impala that I'm interested in to some degree, because if we look carefully, they're all rams. And now they're all grazing. But when we arrived here, there were a number of them sparring. There was even one three-way sparring session going on. And we haven't seen this kind of segregation since the rutting season. And it's mainly because little ones popping out. And with the lambing season, the rams tend to move away from the herds a bit. I think the herd's in the background, the other side of the open area. Beyond the open area I can see a bunch of impala in the bushes. Those must be the females and youngsters. Beautiful peaceful scene here at Djuma Game Reserve. Shouldn't have said the name of the wildebeest. Anyways, we'll see what we can do today for my checklist challenge. Unfortunately, there's been a bit of a spanner thrown in the works after all this hard work we've been doing. And now Seb is heading off to Joburg to do some editing, so I don't know whether we carry on and it's just Tara and myself. The other thing I was thinking of is still just to tick off things that we see, so we can actually, by the end of the month, have an idea of the kind of life that we see in Djuma in November of 2011. Quite a day yesterday, 11/11/11. Haven't had a day like that since 10/10/10. And next year will be the last time we get anything with those kind of numbers. I wonder, maybe we should head west up to Sandy Patch. No particular direction this morning. It's one of those really beautiful mornings. It's still, it's calm. Perfect temperature, if a little bit of a chill in the air.
Yeah, I'm just checking quickly quarantine Philmont Zip and Real Dam, Nisikaga now from North Wolankala.
Oh shit. Pukil, nandiyan no. Do Shiram tu. Off we go. Morning all. See you later, Tex. Bye. Bye children, see you later. Okay, we'll find somewhere to go where there hasn't been a car yet this morning. I love these kind of days. Start off like this. A little bit of a dampness to the air, and that kind of releases smells that you don't really get when it's very dry. Welcome to Djuma. Where are we? We are... it's Saturday morning. Friday night, Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon even for some of us. Those of us in places like New Zealand. Lifted up a little bit too much. Hello John in Brooklyn. I quite agree with you, John. You are quite right. John was saying that last year's 10-10-10 and next year's 12-12-12. Oh, there's a bird we're going to identify. 12, they're not quite the same as 11-11-11, which is a perfect palindrome. Quite right, John. It isn't quite the same. Now, where is this child? I can hear it. Or maybe it's flown away already. Sounded like it was in this marula tree above us. Now I'm determined to find it for you because I first heard this bird only about 2 days ago. And I have no doubt I shall hear it again. So. Supposed to sing I'm so sad. Where's an interesting animal? Although I might have it on my list already. Oops. I don't have it ticked off, but if I do, let me know. If I don't, please tell me what it is so that I can. And okay. Tara's just mentioning that for the straight shot from about here upwards, shoulders and head, saying you were showing too much of this.
I used to always do like so. you can't see the seat,
Yeah.
the rim and the seat, so it's from the line in your jacket. Because otherwise I think it looks, because you've got a line across your shoulders, that's the very bottom of the screen.
Okay.
Because otherwise the horizon's a bit weird, but I can put it higher if you want.
Well, then Tara mentioned a bit higher, and we'll see when we go straight again. Okay, so that animal, gestation period, Tony in California. A little bit way off in the bushes at the moment. I'm sure we'll get the answers, but it wasn't Tony in California, it was Terry in New York. Hello, Terry. New York was asking the gestation period for that animal and the number of young that are born. Oh, maybe we can see it from this angle a little better, as well as whether they give birth to only one young. Gestation period is about 14 months, if I remember correctly. Off she goes. Only one young is born. And remember, a very large animal like that to give birth to two would be very compromising to both youngsters, having to try and keep both youngsters surviving. I think that there's a possibility that most things, but twins, there's got to be a history of twins, perhaps, because of the way twins work. I mean, the possibility of an egg splitting in two is always there. But twins, I think, can be genetic too, and I think that much like humans, no, actually, not include humans, but it's just not that practical for large mammals to give birth to twins, and too much strain on the mother, too much effort to feed two, but also because it would make two individuals a lot weaker than one. The chances of two surviving, or both of them surviving, are a lot less than if there was just one to begin with. One that had a lot more strength and a lot more going for it. Okay. Why we don't see more of them, or why we haven't seen any, well, there we go. But Terry wanted to know, I guess, why they've been a bit scarce, perhaps. Terry, you live in New York. You take one block in New York. I'm going to try and create an analogy here. But not every single inhabitant of New York goes past or through or near that particular block and that which you live. And it's very much the same with all the different private properties in Kruger here. We're a tiny little piece of land in the middle of a very large wildlife area. And animals like giraffe, and very much like lion and elephant, that cover such large areas, cover such large distances, don't stay in the same place. So there can be times when there are a lot of giraffe around, and there can be times when there are few, and there can be times when there are none. And that's just because it's this little property that we traverse. There might be giraffe 20 meters, 200 meters across our boundary that might be coming. And it's also place and time. The times that we don't see giraffe doesn't mean that they're not here. It just means that they weren't any close to the road that we were driving on that particular day. It's the same with elephants. Lion, on the other hand, since they are more territorial, they don't cover as large an area as those other large mammals, but they do have a fairly large territory, one that is many, many times bigger than the area of Djuma. And if anything, Djuma doesn't really fall within the territory of any particular lion. It does, however, fall under, I guess, the overlapping home ranges of several lions. So we get to see lion when they tend to cover this part of their home range. Aubrey's Road. Maybe you can zoom in, if you can get in on this beetle. An interesting beetle in the squirrel. I've actually been looking at these squirrels when I've been on the back of the vehicle, and there are a number of it.
On the long one.
Yeah, over here. I wonder if it's still alive. Sleeping. Close on it. I can't tell you why this beetle is on this flower, because this beetle doesn't really eat much as an adult. It's not eating anything on the flower, to my knowledge. It might well be. But this is what we call a longhorn beetle, or a longicorn. It's not one of the colourful ones, one of the brown ones. A lot of them tend to be beautiful metallic greens and blues. In fact, there's some that don't have metallics. Some of them just have red and just all sorts of different colours. There's a duiker in the background. But longhorn, because of its exceptionally long antenna, there are many different species of longhorns, and they're all wood borers as larvae. They bore into wood. Some of them spending even up to 20 years as larvae in wood. Oh, and there's the duiker's mate crossing the road. Got a pair of duiker sneaking around. Once again, shouldn't have said its name. Maybe we can creep closer. It's going to stay there. Might. MJ and Lynn in Canada, thank you. Southern Giraffe. Sally Slick too, thank you ladies. We'll have to find you a flower for that. Apart from the flower we just had, the squirrel. And Joanne wants to know oops, if there are any marsupials in the Sabi Sand. Joanne? Marsupials only occur in Australia, North and South America, and I don't know, I think that's all. Mammals are divided, I think, into three categories. The marsupials, the mammals we get here, the placental mammals, and then the egg producing mammals, the three different types of mammalian reproduction, or the mammalian I suppose reproduction forms a part of it. Marsupials being that their young are born almost prematurely, they climb into a pouch and suckle and grow in the pouch, and very unique to the marsupials. The placental mammals as we know them here in Africa, it's like that's all we have here. The placental mammals all develop their young inside the womb, and then of course you've got all the oviparous or the oviparous mammals, the ancient mammals, of which there are, I forget how many, like 7 or 8 or something. Maybe Tara can help out there. I forget how many there are, like the duck-billed platypus and the echidna, those mammals that still lay eggs, very ancient mammals. Of course in North America you have the opossum, down in South America also the opossum, a couple of other marsupials, but it's mostly Australia that has the greatest diversity of marsupials, and had in fact an even greater diversity before modern man set foot in Australia. Ancient humans who got to Australia via the natural tendency of the human race to populate the planet, they didn't do too much damage. In fact, they became very wise and very nature-oriented people, as did many other peoples who colonized faraway lands. If this whole dispersal thing, human dispersal thing, is true, if it is really true that humans originated in Africa and spread out of Africa, there are a few things that suggest otherwise, but it was only how many? A couple of 100,000 years later, tens of thousands of years later, that modern man rediscovered these places. Instead of migrating on foot, they migrated in ships, and they landed there and they kind of destroyed everything that they found, or are still in the process of doing so. Anyways, a lot of marsupials species were wiped out with the introduction of domestic animals. Oops. So that was Aubrey's Road. Oops. What's a buffalo track? Zebra. No cats following the buffalo, not yet. Morning, Dale. Warwick, USA. Dale wants to know if we have lightning bugs. We do have lightning bugs. We call them fireflies. Fireflies and glowworms. And they neither bugs, flies, nor worms, actually, to be honest with you, funny enough. but I can forgive whoever it was that named them. They might not have been entomologists, but they're beetles. We have a couple of species. One dominant species that we have, the male is the beetle that flies around, and the female is the glowworm, who's not a worm, but she remains in a sort of semi-larval state. She doesn't ever grow her wings. Hello, lapwings. Crowned lapwings. Yes, they're just saying hello. And lightning bugs, fireflies, glowworms will be coming out soon in December. Warm summer evenings that get nice and humid, and you sometimes find them in profusion in the drainage lines. Obviously closer to permanent rivers you get a lot more of them. And they're not synchronous. They're all random. There are some lightning bugs in some parts of the world that synchronize their flashing, I think. And evidently some that flash different species, different colors. Ours are just a sort of typical luminous green kind of fluorescence. A sort of standard biofluorescent color. Bioluminescence. Well, our northwestern corner, almost. The corner would be at the end of the road. It's almost like, and that's where the gate is. But there are houses there, and there's the gate. No signal, so we're not going to go that far. I do want to have a look over Sydney's dam. Beautiful open area. Lots of swallows. There must be termites erupting. There are swallows and drongos, and there's a mass feeding frenzy going on in one place. A lot of birds flying just over the tops of the grasses. And I would imagine it's maybe termites erupting that they're all feeding on. Well, one day when I arrive here at this time of the morning, I might be lucky enough to see a cat or something special. Can't happen every time. Okay, let's go to Let's go. Oh, there's a big white bird. The spoonbill. Flying away. Maybe he's going to fly to one of our dams. African spoonbill. Very interesting bird. Hello, Deb. In Ohio. Wondering if there's any problem with non-indigenous species. Animals, insects, fish, etc. For this particular area, Deb, no. Well, yes, there's a little bit of an invasion of humans. Humans are not in... They might have been a long time ago. Seriously? We don't have... If we're just speaking of Sabi Sand or Djuma itself, no problem here. We might get the occasional house sparrow. Again, I almost say that the house sparrow is naturalized. In fact, it's hybridized with the Cape sparrow. And one wonders which one is a pure species anymore. Animals, mammals, birds, insects. I don't think the harlequin lady beetle, the ladybug, ladybird, I don't think the harlequin has reached here yet. It has been found in some parts of South Africa. There was a bit of an outbreak of harlequins in the Cape, I think. People were being asked to look carefully at their ladybugs, ladybirds. Bit of a hard thing to do that because you get 90% of the people that will be looking won't really be able to tell the difference between an indigenous one and a harlequin. You can only hope that they're not killing off ladybirds just because of that. But it was an invasive species of beetle that had tendency to eat anything in its path. And offhand, I can't think of anything here. There are areas of the country that are invaded and have a problem with certain species. I mean, fish have been introduced to some of our rivers and some of our freshwater areas that have decimated local populations of fish, things like largemouth bass, trout, carp. We do have a problem with certain species of birds that were introduced in the cities mostly. And there are a few animal species that have been introduced that have proven a bit of a problem. We had Himalayan tars on Table Mountain, roe deer, fallow deer that have been introduced to some places that have found conditions just ideal for them to spread. This is the problem, is South Africa has a kind of climate and the kind of habitats that can prove ideal to foreign species that might find conditions here a little bit better than where they come from, and so they tend to proliferate. So we are now on Sandy Patch. This is Vuyatela Access Road. Reading the morning paper, mostly been buffalo. Carla. Doesn't look like any youngsters in this herd yet. know those Swainson's Franklin out there in that area where the birds were and what I thought might have been termites? I didn't actually look at that. I have to be honest, I was looking across the water. Excuse me a second. My sinuses feel a bit blocked today. I suppose I could ask the question back again. Were those Swainson's spur found? Where the birds were swarming. Buffalo was sleeping here last night before going north. Sadly not getting you at all. I did hear you say Michael. I do see a nice big bird too. No. A big mob. Back or forwards, or is it a clear shot? Yeah. Okay, now I can't see it at all. It's completely hidden from me and I don't have a monitor. But there's an eagle. I'll have a look at it when I move off. When I get a gap. It's got a little gap through the trees. You might see it forward or further back. There's an ID. Take a look at a couple of things on this bird. I wish I could see it. Stand up and I hope it doesn't fly away. Ooh, it's a difficult one. It's a brown bird. One normally has to look at eye and where the gape, how far back the gape goes. And it's not easy to do that. I'm going to try and move forward, see if we can get another gap through the trees further forward. So I need to look at it. Being mobbed by a pair of fork-tailed rongos. See, there's a third one sitting in the tree. Maybe from this angle. It's going to be a tight angle for the camera. Unless I can get through here. Yeah, there we go. Now I can see it better. So the gape goes to below the middle of the eye. The gape being the sort of the mouth, well, the gape. A fairly light coloured eye, not quite yellow. The two tones of brown do help it as well in trying to identify it. It'll be easier to see the legs. These drongos will actually even knock it on the head to get it out of their territory, and they will do so even in the air. I've seen them holding onto the head feathers in mid-air with one of these birds, and they're so much more agile than the larger birds that they can get out of its reach quite easily. And that gape is going to be on the front of the eye. It's interesting. Oh, good stuff. Still gape to the middle of the eye. Yeah, I think that's what it, what I first thought it was, I think is what it is. The key. Oh, my ear. And Tara, I'm not gopping anything other than a lot of really bad static in my ear. We'll have to get up onto Impala Plains, Zoe's Road to get contact again. Okay, let's leave these. Eventually the eagle will leave the drongo's territory because it's not going to be able to do much sitting here and being mobbed by these birds all day. And it'll probably get a headache eventually, getting hit on the head. Guinea fowl making a bit of a noise up ahead. So of all the eagles that we get here, there are about 7 brown eagles, and each one has got a distinguishing feature that sets it apart from the rest, and they're often very subtle little clues. They're not always something that stands out, like feathered legs or unfeathered legs, and under the circumstances we couldn't even see this one's legs, but I can tell you that they're feathered. Very large talons, quite stocky legs actually. Just going to check on Triple M quickly. Guinea fowl out here somewhere making a noise. Although they could be making a noise because of that bird. They might maybe even see it, or they did see it. Sitting in a prominent tree, yeah, sitting in a tree, even from here on Triple M, we can see it. And the guinea fowl are all hiding. Oh, there's one. Just looking up Triple M, might be Impala or something, way up on the road. Ryan's just coming through on the radio to say that the Talalas, 4 of them, I guess BB not there, maybe, you know. 4 of the Talalas on the open area in front of the camp at Arethusa. Talalas with the sticks Young Sticks male. He's quite a character, that Young Sticks male. I hope we get to see him before the end of the month. I haven't seen him for a while. Time he came over this way. Paid us a visit. Tara, talk to me, see if the radio's working. Please. Try again. Volume was down because it was such bad static earlier. Yeah, I'll do. Very soft. Ches Hill, Amber, Shirley in Wisconsin. Thank you for the Tawny. And Roger. Hi Roger. Search, I think. No? Tawny Eagle. It was. Aquila rapax. The rapacious eagle. Hello Gail, good question. Are they bothering the eagle because they have youngsters or just because it's a predator? It's just because it's a predator. They will bother an eagle any time of the year, any opportunity they get, any time an eagle, an owl, a goshawk or any of the raptors came anywhere near their territory, they would do the same thing at any time of the year. The eagle is no threat to them. The eagle's probably not going to even bother with their chicks. It could swallow them whole. They're just funny that way. Lilac-breasted rollers also get that way sometimes. But no bird is quite as adamant or quite as forceful as fork-tailed drongo. There's a snake track in the road that we're running. It must be a puff adder. Very hard to tell the direction of it. There it runs there. And then back onto this side of the road. Back on the road. Could be a young puff adder. Interesting. Could you find a snake one of these days? Hyena been very busy here. I wonder if there's any specific reason. That was Impala Plains. This is now Zoe's Road. spotting a big male leopard here. Going the other way. That could be down Rebecca's Road perhaps. Was any station at PCK this morning? Text you know if you saw Ingram Fonzo on Zoe. Like an exceptionally large leopard. Could be in Duna. Vishu. One of the boys. I'm going to do a loop, Philemon's cut line, go around onto Rebecca's Road. Just do a loop around and see. Nothing much. Evidently nothing happening at the hyena den this morning. So what did Michael ask? I just heard the name earlier, above the crackling. No, I'm not copying you again now. Nothing. Not even a word. Why is this? Why indeed? Oh well, I'll just have to wait a little bit again. Well, if Michael, if you're watching, I know you got a question coming through. And it seems that now, once again, I can't hear Tara. We'll have to wait a short while. Let's have a look at Gary Main, what might be there. See if we can find that bird when we come back. Oh, and our leopard has come back this way. Onto Gary Main. Leopard did a walkabout. giraffe coming back onto the property. That's interesting. Yeah, the leopard tracks came onto the road and walked down towards Triple M Junction. Ryan coming? Any station copy? It's not. That looked like a female leopard. The tracks that I had up on Zoe's Road were bigger. That bird's not there anymore. Not hearing it. A couple of bird calls that I've been wanting to find the bird for you, and proving a little bit more difficult than I thought. Morning, boys. The little antelope. I don't think I've got him on my list. If I have, let me know. If I don't, tell me what it is. Where's your wife? Anyhow, we don't see them for months towards the end of the dry season, when the end of summer, towards the dry season, when the grasses are all very long, they tend to stay hidden. And nowadays we get to see them so prominently. A roller about to roll. Oh, Vancy saying Steenbok. Leanne in Florida saying Steenbok. I'll go with Steenbok. Looks like a Steenbok to me. He's interested in something on the other side of a termite mound, or on the termite mound perhaps. Okay, let's move along. Thank you, young man. Maybe his partner's up there somewhere. One of the ground beetles here. I don't know if we can see it, we can try. Still hunting. Normally nocturnal. There are a bunch of ants here, and it's probably these ants that it's hunting. Have you got it?
Yeah.
About 2 inches long. It's quite a formidable acid defense spray that it sprays out of its abdomen and is able to quite accurately get its aggressor in the eye. Go away, fly. Come this way, beetle. There are more ants here. I'm going to see you catch one. I've got some ants at its feet, running around on top of it even. Hello, beetle. Hello, Leanne. Florida. Guessing you might be relatively new to our drives, Leanne. Leanne wants to know about the roads. How do roads like Zoe's Road get that kind of name? Is it named after people who live here or have lived here? Well, that particular road and Rebecca's Road are the two daughters of the owner, Zoe and Rebecca. So there are only two roads that are named after family of the owner. I don't know who Philemon was. This is called Philemon's Cut Line. I don't know who Philemon was. Aubrey is one of the guides. Aubrey's Road. Aubrey's still here, is one of the guides. What other roads has a human name on it? I don't know who Jack was. There's a Jack's Road. Ephraim's Shortcut. Ephraim is one of the guides here. He made that shortcut from Gallagher Shortcut going up onto Buffalo's Cut Line. And that's about it. Those are the only roads that are named after people. But these roads were all named many, many moons ago, decades ago. And I've only been here a couple of years, so I don't know the history of a lot of the names of the roads. Some of them are quite obvious. This road we're turning onto now, for example, is called Spam Road. Spam meaning rifle. And that is because it's a road that goes towards a little man-made quarry where the guides do shooting practice. So let's see Spam Road. Central Road because it is central. The different cut lines are so called because they're the cut lines on those boundaries. Gowrie Main because it's the main road that comes through Gowrie Gate, comes in from Gowrie, or it's the main road that runs between the properties of Gowrie. You see, a long time ago when this land was divided up by surveyors, agricultural department, whoever it was that divided this land up and sold off portions. This would have been back in the 40s and 50s perhaps. Must have been immigrants from the UK, Germany, because you find areas that are, they must have just taken an area of a world map or something and taken counties from different parts of England and named them. Like some of the names here are Scottish, here in the Sabi Sand, the names of the properties. Up in the Timberwart you get a lot of names that are Indonesian, as well as up towards Hoedspruit the names of farms there are German names. And it was just, instead of having just the property name, portion such and such, a farm number XYZ, when these parcels were, when this land was all parceled up, each property was given a specific name. Here in the Sabi Sand there's places like Castleton and Marthley, Ottawa, Gowrie, can't think of others off the top of my head. In the Timberwart we've got places like Java and actually Peru, that's not so Indonesian. Java and Peru are right next to each other. So they just gave random names to properties. And then of course landowners decided that they didn't like the names of the properties given on the maps. So like Djuma, that was originally on a property called Gowrie, the owners decided to call it Djuma because it's more African, it's more personal. And then of course once you put in roads, you start creating your own names for roads. Quite often you'll find a road is named after something that was seen shortly after that road was first made. Elephant Skull, for example. There was an elephant carcass there once upon a time, so there was obviously an elephant skull there once upon a time. Have a look, once again, have a look on Gowrie Main for some tracks to see what was moving about. Well, there we go. Thank you, MJ. MJ knows something I don't. That Philemon was Aubrey's father. It's interesting. Thank you, MJ. Virginia wants to know, what does Juma mean? As far as I know, Juma means the roar, and so does Andy. What does it mean? As far as I know, it means the roar of the lion. So I've been lying awake at night trying to hear the last few nights. They have been a little quiet. Right, we got an old track. There was a track here. Another big leopard here, and small leopard. Morning, Cheryl and Caleb, who's 6 years old. Hello, Caleb. In Eugene, Oregon. Caleb wants to know what kind of snakes we see. Gosh, Caleb, there are many, many different types of snakes that we get here, but we don't really get to see many snakes at all. In fact, it's quite hard to find snakes. When you're walking, you get to see them a little bit better because they don't pick up the vibrations of the vehicle. You know, the vehicle, especially this one. The old vehicle, we used to see snakes a bit better because it was a bit quieter and didn't make so much noise. But I think it's the vibrations of this vehicle that the snakes pick up, because we see a lot of snake tracks, but we don't see a lot of snakes. And that's because they all disappear before we even get there. But many different kinds of snakes. Different cobras, a couple of different adders, pythons, grass snakes, house snakes, egg eaters, tiger snakes, wolf snake, file snake, lion snake. I'm guessing that maybe some of these leopard tracks that I was seeing now were from the other day when we had 4 leopards here. It was interesting with Shavinzi at the lodge last night. I wonder if Karula has a sort of standing arrangement with them. If you get lost, make your way to the lodge and I'll find you there. It's not that they can get lost. They know her territory so well by now that it's not like they can get lost permanently. Hello geese, sorry to disturb you. Modern day call it what? Perthshire. Thank you. Was that Vivian? Vivian saying that Gary was a region in Scotland now known as Perthshire. Now, I think there are a few other Scottish names here in the Sabi Sand. I've got something seriously wrong with my left eye and it's troubling me. So, that bird was still on its nest, it's just flown off. We had the orange-breasted bushshrike in a nest here in this tree. I have to sneak up on it another time. Let us continue. Egyptian geese have treehouse dam to themselves at the moment. I've got Suzanne and elephants. Hello Suzanne. Asking a question on elephant. And it seems I'm losing out a bit today. Bad radio comms. Elephant Skull Road, having spoken of it, Maybe we can check up on the orchid. Tiger orchid. Tree orchid. Actually left it this afternoon. The angle's all wrong today. It's looking into the sun, I forgot, on this side. We'll do it this afternoon. Okay. 2 out of 5. You have to fix the CFP. Mushroom. Looks like a shaggy ink cap. Let me try and get a position. Can you get it from there? Haven't had many mushrooms yet. Well, we have had a few, I just haven't shown any. But it shows there must be some humidity in the air. And I think that's one of what they call the ink caps. Well, maybe not. Mushrooms are so hard and I just can't seem to find the right book. Got a little book that's got a few in, but there got to be thousands. This one is the first field guide to mushrooms of Southern Africa. I've got a much bigger book that I need to get out of storage because I can't seem to even find it on the internet. Okay, let's go to Twin Dams. Further reading. I think that's the one. Levin and Branch. Levin, Branch and Rappaport. Guide to Mushrooms of South Africa. trying to talk to me, Clara. I'm just getting static. Radio's never really been that good down here at Twin Dams. Seems that buffalo have found their way onto every single road in the last 12 to 18 hours. Buffalo everywhere. I haven't seen any yet, but their tracks are everywhere. Well, on the damn wall, I'm getting you about 2 out of 5. I'm able to hear you. Stop here at the dam. Maybe if I stop and switch off, I can hear you better. And I have to take off a layer. I wonder if we can find one of those monitors. Good morning, Suzanne. Suzanne's question is about elephants. And amongst a herd of elephants, are all the females in the herd involved in raising youngsters? Pretty much so, Suzanne. Pretty much. What am I doing? Now, a very good indication of the success of an elephant population is very much what we're seeing with elephants here in Kruger. There's multiple generations of youngsters and multiple youngsters per female. So you will find that in any herd of elephant, almost every adult female is not only going to have one, but is going to have several calves of different ages. Also a very good indication of the success rate of them as a species, but also the survival rate of the youngsters. Being able to see so many different ages or generations of youngsters within the herds. And within a herd, even those young females that haven't calved themselves are involved in the raising of youngsters. They become babysitters, they become big sisters to their younger siblings, and they do play a huge role in helping and teaching and raising the young. So that is very much the main activity, or the main, can I use start up quickly? The main purpose, I suppose, of the herds, the matriarchal herds. It's all about raising young, caring for them, teaching, training, showing them the world. And it's one of the reasons why when the young males start getting a little bit older, they don't really have much to do with all of that, because the males don't have any role in raising young, and so they start lagging behind and they start getting their independence, because they don't really have much to do with it all. I wonder if we're going to see if that drongo is still drinking. There was a drongo drinking, and drongos, although I have seen drongos come to my bird bath and sit on the edge of the bird bath, more often than not, no matter how small it is, they still like to fly and dip their beaks in the water from the wing. There we go. Don't know if you're going to catch that. Scooping water with its beak, sitting in the tree. It'll probably go back again. See how good Becky is at catching. Did you manage to get it?
I was on a really wide shot.
It could be very difficult. It's sitting in that leadwood now, a little tree. The one that was drinking has now flown off, but there's another one that's just arrived. But they fly low, just above the surface of the water, and they raise their wings and dip their head and scoop water out. Oh, there's an interesting yellow bird that's just come down into the mud in front of that tree. I can use that for my list. And I don't know if I've got the other small one. I must check, because there's that other wader that's there too, with black bands on it. Name of the beetle. Let me just find this in my list. I've got the three-banded plover already. So it's just a little yellow. You got that little yellow one?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just a little yellow one that we got to get. It's an interesting one. I think its name's changed as well. It's got a new name now, and I'm still on the old name. Not serious. Either name will work. And Marilyn, was that a question about a fox? Do we have a similar animal when coming through to Clear? Well, we have a Cape fox in the Cape. We have the bat-eared foxes. Not here. We won't have any bat-eared foxes here. I think there are some regions of Kruger you'll find bat-eared fox, more open ground. And of course we have the jackal, which is perhaps similar to a fox. Roger, was it Roger that was asking about the beetle? It was one of the ground beetles, Roger. Also known as a carabid beetle, the family Carabidae. C-A-R-A-B. Scarab without the S. Carab. K-A-R-A-B-I-D-A-E are the family, the Carabidae. Carabid beetle. Okay, let us mosey on out of here. Moving on. Moving. Is that a quoting? Yeah. Sounds Josie, thank you. Josie, I think, is quoting from maybe something written by the Moolmans about why they're called Djuma Djuma. But of course they don't have Bush Lodge anymore, so that's a moot point. Bush Lodge doesn't exist anymore. It's now called Cheetah Plains, belongs to someone else. But thanks, Josie. Djuma meaning roar of the lion. I suppose maybe sign of the lion if it means spoor as well. Thank you, Josie. Owl, as in O-W-L, owl. Oh, owl. Alan. Owl. That kind of owl. Hello, owl. Do we get any brush fires at Djuma? I don't think there have been fires at Djuma for a number of years. In the 3 years that I've been here, there have been no fires. That's just here at Djuma. There have been fires elsewhere. It's always possible for fires to come through. We have fire breaks around Djuma that have the tendency to stop fires. And fire is also used as a tool, as a management tool in some cases, although I think it has been misused a lot. And I think it is perhaps for that reason that Yuri, the owner of Djuma, has decided against using fire for a while as a management tool. I think perhaps some places the frequency of fires, well, it's just too frequent. Fire is necessary in any area, any given area, in terms of turning over the viability of the habitat, in terms of maintaining a healthy floral diversity, and that is what maintains the faunal diversity, the diversity of animals. Because when the vegetation gets too dense and dry and moribund, it stops new vegetation from growing, and that of course reduces the amount of food available to your herbivores, and that will have an impact on your predators. So fire is used as a tool, but it's a debatable subject as to how frequently one can use fire. Normally what one would do is one would take a core sample of a tree that is very old, perhaps a dead leadwood that's been around for 1,000 years, and then study the scars on the tree, see if one can work out some sort of frequency of fires that have naturally occurred over a period of hundreds of years. Dendrochronology, the aging of trees. Hello Sue in San Diego. Saw a documentary about species of mongoose attacking a snake. What species of mongoose and attack what species of snake? Well, it would normally only be... No, actually I'm wrong there, because even the solitary mongoose will do that. I suppose, Sue, I could say that pretty much all mongoose species are known for their agility and their ability to catch snakes. Obviously, things like banded mongoose and suricate or the meerkat are very well known for this. Any type of snake. It's not necessarily only things like cobras and venomous snakes, but they will attack any snake. But cobras are one of the most frequently seen in films, because I suppose it makes for great filmmaking, having the cobra standing up and opening its hood and striking at the mongoose, and the mongoose banding together. That's not why they call banded mongoose, by the way. It's not because they band together, it's because they have bands on their body, stripes. But they do band together, they huddle together, and it makes them look like one large entity as opposed to numerous individuals. And I don't think they're really that fussy about what snakes they kill. Just did a turn of Chelapan. And we're going to go to... I think I'd like to do Batelier Road. I don't quite understand it. Names such as what? Who names the animals? I still now not getting it. I mean, who decided it was going to be elephant, and who decided that animal was going to be called hippo? Or do you mean like Karula? Yeah, I didn't quite hear what name you mentioned, but Mark in Missouri wants to know who gets to name the animals. Well, guides, mostly, when animals are young. There seems to be a sort of a unwritten rule about the guide who's been here the longest when animals are born. I don't think I can really give you a straight answer to that, Mark. Who names the animals? It's normally the guides, and they have a particular system when they get around to it. We've named a number of animals, but that's through the viewers. But they're animals that aren't normally named. Wonderful, thank you. Hello Bets, welcome on our drive. I'm glad you're feeling better to watch. How are you doing, Bets? You must know, Bets, that if I'm out and behind the wheel of this vehicle, you must know that I'm looking for elephants every minute of every drive that I'm on. So I have been and I will be looking for elephants for you. Talking about some elephants that are going to be moved from California to Arizona. They've been in California for a long time. They're going to be moved to Arizona. I don't know what I can say about that. I don't think the Arizona climate is that much different to that in California. It might get a bit colder for them. I'd have to look into it. I couldn't comment because I don't know the history. I don't know the circumstances. I don't know the places. I'd have to look into it to be able to comment. I have to be honest. Can't imagine why it'd be too much of a problem moving them. But I don't know. Best thing I can say is I can't comment because I don't know what the story's all about. I'd have to read up about it. Animals in captivity, a lot different to animals in the wild. Apart from the fact that animals in captivity normally get artificial shelter if they're living in climates that they don't come from. Amber, Laura, yellow-fronted canary, is that what its new name is? I know it is the yellow-eyed canary. Look at that little child. Almost maybe going on a year old. It's a little bit bigger than a hatchling. Special. I'm so glad that I saw it because it's such a tiny little thing. Leopard tortoise. I do have it on my list, so I know that, at least I know I've got it on my list because I saw 3 the other day. So that's a baby. That's about the size of a bit bigger than an egg, chicken egg. A little bit bigger than a chicken egg. About, well, they're a lot smaller than that when they're about half that size when they hatch. Hello Philip in Cape Town, nice to hear from you, and I have to say thank you also, Philip, for those gifts you sent us. Very pretty. We've decided we're gonna take one of each because we like the different designs, and since there are 4 of us, I know Becky's making it 5, but we're going to use the 4th set and give that to Cynthia, who's our housekeeper, for a gift. But thanks, Philip. Beautiful placemats. In fact, I'll bring them along later and show you. But Philip is asking, I don't know how well known the fact is, but crocodile eggs, the sex of the crocodiles hatching are determined by the temperature at which the eggs are incubated. So you find that the eggs that are closer to the surface, that get a little bit warmer than those eggs that are lower down in the nest, become the females, and the colder eggs, even if it's a minute it is only a very small temperature difference. And that's how nature can ensure that there are a number of different sexes coming out of the same nest. There's also got a lot to do, it's also got something to do with the amount of the colouring of the crocs as well, I believe. Temperature, incubation. But Philip's question is really more on the monitor side. Do monitor lizard eggs also vary according to temperature? As far as I know, they do, Philip. As far as I know, a lot of reptiles are the same. Turtles, I believe, are similar. I'm open to correction, as always. But I think monitor lizards, yes. Morning, Dudley, and welcome. Dudley's a new viewer. Well, the majority of animals be in deep cover on hot days, pretty much. It's not a hard and fast rule, Dudley. There are always exceptions, and you might even find, I've seen in the middle of summer, middle of the day, literally 12 to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, leopard walking around, hunting. I've seen any kind of animal you can think of, mostly, well, diurnal that is, moving around in the middle of the heat, middle of the day, in the heat of the day. But yes, the majority of animals will be in thick cover and deep shade. The herbivores still processing food, not necessarily out taking food, not necessarily out actually selecting grasses and leaves, but maybe standing or lying in the shade, still chewing on it, still processing it, one stomach to the next for those that are ruminants. But yeah, it's starting to warm up today, and been a little oh. Get that. You have to try and get that back to me, Tara. Hello, Chuck in Hawaii. Will an animal like Karula leave her young with herbivores? Is that it? Around. Maybe my brain is just not functioning this morning, but I don't quite get that. Will an animal like Karula leave its young around other species to act as sentries, carnivores, herbivores, etc.? Not likely. Hello, Chuck in Hawaii, by the way, aloha. We had other viewers in Hawaii. I don't know what happened to MJ. But not necessarily, not really. I mean, a predator's not going to leave its young around prey species to act as sentries. Predators don't really leave their prey around anything to act as a sentry. I know we joke a lot about babysitting the cubs, and I don't know, maybe, who knows, maybe it is something to it in that Karula does happen to leave her cubs, and there are things like older brothers or fathers or humans around when she does leave the cubs. I think that's really an extreme case. But zebra are not necessarily going to leave their young with giraffe, or giraffe leave their young with impala. But having said that, it's not that you're not going to find it. You still, I don't know. A question like that doesn't have a single answer that I can feel that I've answered it to the best of my ability, because I wish I could explain this. I don't know how I can explain this. When it comes to animal behavior, and this is a behavioral thing, you can find a whole range of different behaviors out of one herd of animals, let alone all of members of the same species. So yes, I think maybe somewhere in Africa you might find some species that will appear to leave their young, like let's say giraffe, which have a tendency to leave their young under the trees in the shade when they're very young and they go off to browse. And there might just happen to be zebra and impala and other animals around. But it's not to say that the giraffe left their young there so that they could be watched over by the zebra and the impala. If the zebra and the impala left, those young would be on their own. So it depends on how you interpret it, and it depends on what you're looking at. And it can appear that they do, and maybe, I don't know, it's a really difficult question to give you an answer that satisfies me as an answer. Animals, much like humans, have got thinking, feeling brains, and when it comes to behavior, there isn't a set rule about how things behave. Oops, I'm driving right past animals because I'm turning the other way, trying to speak to the mic and the camera. It's the first time we're seeing two baby impalas together. And as the lambs start getting born, they're going to start seeing them in bigger and bigger groups, and they'll be in these little creche groups. And impala won't really leave their babies alone at all. They'll leave the young together in a creche or a nursery group, and there'll always be impala watching over them. So maybe not another species, but certainly other individuals. There's that big warthog we saw yesterday also. He's still here. Hello babies, welcome to the world. Yes, this is Gunda. Get used to it. Suzanne wants to know what are the most vulnerable animals. I think we're looking at them. Two of them. Warthog and impala. Animals of this size are the kind of size that have the greatest number of predators, and I suppose if one can calculate vulnerability as an animal having the most predators, then I suppose impala are they, and that is perhaps one of the reasons why they're the most numerous. Ants are still busy, so the ants still believe there's rain coming. There's some more animals up ahead. If we're talking about vulnerable as in predation, and being eaten rather than vulnerable as in close to extinction. Africa has just lost another rhino subspecies. I think by now we'd get our act together as a being, as a supposedly wise being. After making several species of rhinos extinct, not to mention the thousands of other animals that we've wiped off of the face of the planet, we have finally done it to another type of rhino. Ooh, there's one of my favorite beetles on the ground. Don't fly away. Just got disturbed probably by the smell of the vehicle. It was eating a flower. It was eating a morning glory. It's called a blister beetle. Interesting beetle. Now I can't talk to you about it. Hello, zebra. Zebra. Hello, other zebra. And kudu. Nice big group of kudu here too. Still grazing out in the open, browsing. Although it is starting to get hot, and I'm guessing, as some of these kudu have already, they're making their way into thicker bush. Okay, let's go and see. We've seen Treehouse Dam, we've seen Twin Dams. Let's go to Buffalo Dam. This is Pipeline Road, North Cheek to Cut Line. Any station with that Ingwe? Thanks. Is it mobile? Sorry, which shortcut? Okay, copy, thanks. Alright, thanks. See if we can get to, there was a leopard picked up from shortcut. Ants are very busy building mounds to protect their burrows. Okay, sorry, what was that when I was on the radio, Tara? Hello, Donna in Nebraska. How are you, Donna? No school today. You still at night. Hope you have a happy weekend. Let me find my mammal book. Donna wants to know, read about bush pigs. Are they the same as warthogs? No. They are other sherrits, but they're not warthogs. Let me show you. In fact, bush pigs do occupy the same. You do find them in the same place, bush pigs and warthogs. The way that nature minimizes the amount of competition between them, because they are such similar in habits and diet, is that, well, the warthog is diurnal, and the bush pig is a predominantly nocturnal animal. Let me show you what a bush pig looks like. Looks it looks more like a pig. The Suidae, well, the wild boar is, I suppose, up in North Africa. Bush pig, giant hogs and warthogs. But there we go, on the left here is a bush pig. And two different races really, one in the northwest and one in the southeastern parts of Africa. It's got a much deeper body. It is very much more boar or hog-like. And then of course our warthog, which we all see. No, that's not it. That's the giant hog up in Central Africa. And there's our warthog. Pacucheros africanos. We've just seen up on the open area. So quite a different animal. Don't think we would get bush pig here. It is, I think, listed on our checklist even, if I'm not mistaken. But what does it say? Where is that thing? Suidae, bush pig. It says R. What does R mean? Forget. R means resident. That's debatable. Oh no, R for mammals means rarely seen. R in birds means resident. Rarely seen. Interesting. The only time, in fact, there's a remote possibility that whoever's zooming during our night time, you might see a bush pig come to the dam. Of course, they are quite local and they don't really travel over very large areas. They're not that nomadic or anything, but they do have pretty much a sedentary lifestyle. A burrow system and a place where they live. Oh, some buffalo deep in there, very deep, very far in. Oh, here's some more of them. You the boys have been walking around on every single road all night. Quite a big group of other boys maybe. Hello gentlemen, where are you all off to? Looks like it might not be only bulls. This looks like a cow on our left, so maybe it's the end of a herd. 2 cows. Could be a breeding herd. Morning. Morning. We're just going to walk straight through the bush. Could have gone around it. She's quite a big lady, that. African buffalo. One of our largest mammals. Also, one of the most notorious. Shaminyari Hippo Pool Road, open lock. There we go again. East of Buffelshoek Dam on that road called Hippo Pools Road. Elephants, bets, they are always on my mind. I haven't seen any fresh tracks this morning. I don't know where that big herd went that we saw yesterday at the hyena den in the morning. They might have gone south. They were sort of heading south. We'll touch on Buffelshoek cut line and maybe get some idea. Oh, there, in the dam, playing in the water. Why didn't anybody tell me this? Bets, I hope you're still awake. Station at Buffelshoek Dam. Join you here, please. Wonderful. Oh, fantastic. Oh, sorry, goslings. 3 goslings. Where's the other 4? Look at this. There are enough elephants to sink a battleship. And actually there are enough elephants trying to sink other elephants. Look at that, lovely boys are playing, cooling down before the day starts even. Oh, we missed it. Wonderful. I'm not concerned about only seeing... Oh, the other goslings are with the other parent. Count them in a minute. I'm glad you're here, Bets, and everybody else who's rejoicing in a beautiful elephant sighting. Makes my day. Oh, and that big bird, I wish you could get that because I don't have it on my list. Big and grey with a big white stripe in its tail. I heard the grey lories shouting, the go-away birds, and that's why they were shouting.
Got it.
You got it?
Yeah, kind of.
It's not an easy one unless you get to see its yellow face in flight. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7 goslings. Come and play with me, elephants. I shouldn't have told you their name. Like it's so hard to guess what these animals are called. Perhaps one of the most iconic animals of Africa. Oh, another big one coming out of the drainage line below the dam. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, maybe 20 odd elephants. Coming back for a second swim. Another female and her calf coming up into the water over the dam wall, joining the group. I think she's a different family because she's pausing and her calf is sort of sniffing the air. This is going to be difficult, Becky, because you don't know where to point the camera.
Come to Buffelshoek Dam.
Oh, this is beautiful. How can you for a minute doubt that these elephants are not having a whale of a time, actually having fun, enjoying themselves? nothing anthropomorphic about it at all. Looks like there's another family that are coming over the dam wall that are waiting their turn. Etiquette, elephant etiquette. Buffelshoek Dam. Who was that in Japan? Nobody in Japan. It was Luc in Quebec. Bonjour, Luc. This is Buffelshoek Dam. Penny, Amber, Joanne, Arizona. Number of people came back with African Harrier Hawk. Thank you. Well done. Caught it in flight. Brief view of it. Even more elephants coming from the right now. Let's revise the figure and call it about 30 elephants. Oh, that's beautiful. What's good news is that some of the herd, one of the families, starting to head south. A lot of rumbling, a lot of talking with these ellies. Other elephants answering them to the south. So we've probably got 3 different family groups here, 3 different fairly large family units of elephant. Morning.
You did great stuff.
Ah, fantastic. When there's so much activity like this, just to know where to point the camera first. Sorry? Oh, I probably only saw about 15 or so, but I think it's the back of a herd because there were not only a couple of Duggar boys, but there were also a number of females.
Okay, you can take a picture of me and my boat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I am.
Sorry, I was talking to Sydney there, Tara. I didn't hear your question.
Iffy at the moment. It's right at the
Goslings are getting very big.
Yeah, I know it is the case. No. It doesn't work. This is what we do.
Hello, Ellen. Illinois Ellen. Let's see if we can get around to the other side and see them disappearing into the bush. We might get the last of them. Bye. Ellen was asking about the depth of the dam. How do they know when it's getting too deep for them? How deep is the deepest part of the dam? Well, funny enough, Ellen, one of the only ways to really tell, even then it's not that easy, is to watch elephants in the water when they totally disappear. You get an idea that it's deeper than an elephant. The thing with elephants is that they are positively buoyant. So elephants float, they swim. So when they're getting into water that's too deep for them, obviously very much like us, their feet no longer touch the bottom. And then they start swimming. Generally, if they're swimming and playing like this, they are always touching. Let's get the last of them disappearing. Beautiful. I love it when they're wet and clean like this. Boys, here's a bunch of males that are tagging along. Some quite young that are happy to be in the company of slightly older bulls. But Ellen, when they're playing in the water like this, they generally got their feet on the ground. They wouldn't really go into deep water to play. They go into deep water when they're crossing rivers or crossing lakes, and that's when they would swim. But they wouldn't generally have fun in water that's out of their depth. And I suppose, yeah, to answer that question, if it was breaking up, as soon as it gets too deep for them, their feet no longer touch the bottom. That was very special. What a wonderful interlude to a quiet morning. And we might just be lucky enough to see one of the cats on the way home, as we're nearly at the end, so I'm going to see if we can make it along Biffles of cut line towards Ephraim's shortcut. To get away from noisy people. I can never understand people. Never understand people, period. Understand elephants a lot better. There are our elephants' beds. We can breathe again. Beds you can go to bed and dream of them. I don't know if Liz was with us, I don't know if Paddy was with us, other elephant loving people. Liz maybe. Patty normally only in the afternoons. But they're heading south, down Yala Road north shortly. We'll go and look for them, and I hope they're still going to be around this afternoon. I'm guessing we're going to have a lovely hot day today. And I'm guessing further that maybe they will be at one of the other dams later today. I might just have to go out in my Land Rover and find them before drive. I need elephants right now in my life, more than anything else. Well, I suppose it's debatable. Woman and elephant. Hello, Bonnie. Would hippos pose a problem to the elephants? No. Bonnie, hippos would probably give the elephants a wide berth. If anything, the elephants are likely to move the hippos out of the way. Give you a flower for the morning because there's just really beautiful light on it at the moment. In fact, there are a couple of flower chafers. There's a flower chafer on this flower. Chafers are also interesting beetles, the cetonid beetle, in terms of being very colourful, most of them. Metallic colours, some of them. Can you get the beetle? I suppose not.
No, it's kind of underneath.
Yeah. And if I touched the flower, the beetle would drop off of the flower, open its wings and fly away. One of those things that you got to be... I can go forward and we can try and get it from the side. But the beautiful yellow flowers of the African wattle, also known as a weeping wattle, but they don't always weep. They only weep when they are, I suppose infested is not the right word, but when they have a large population of particular species of bug that saps their suck, and after sucking sap continually, they start producing a foam to protect themselves, and that starts condensing and has the appearance of water dripping from the tree. That's why it's called a weeping wattle. The rain tree or apple leaf is a weeping tree for the same reason. Clarissa. Hello baby Marla. Alright, we don't have much time, so I want to try and get to see males chasing each other. A couple of very young impala here. Got some guests. First I want to know who was in the jeep on the left. There was a jeep on our right. There was Sydney was there. Sydney from Buffelshoek was there. How are you finding it? Good. It's always got to be an idiot. How did I know there were 3 different family groups there? I guessed because I was looking at different dynamics. I was looking at one group of Ellies in the water that were all together. There was one group of Ellies towards the right, and there was another group of Ellies that was still only coming in from the south. And I was guessing that they were 3 different family groups. I'm also guessing that of those 3 different family groups, all the little boys were playing together. I might be wrong, but it's just take on the situation. morning, Laurie in Georgia. Put Georgia on my mind now. Laurie is asking, has an elephant ever come up to the vehicle and taken my hat or something off of the vehicle to play with it? I've had elephants come up to the vehicle, Laurie. They've come up and touched the front of the vehicle and come up to almost within touching distance of me. But no, not had an elephant take my hat or anything to play with. I did once give my hat to a couple of young male lions to play with. That must have been about 4 years ago. There's a pair of young males that I'd watched growing up. They had an incredible mother who was probably one of the biggest lionesses I'd ever seen in the Sabi Sand. Scar, her name was. And I was with a family from Portugal, the Paynes, Lillian and Graham Payne. And Andrew was the son and Veronica the daughter. Veronica went to live in Australia for a while. But they were English living in Portugal. And they were regular visitors. They came back a number of times and I was always their guide. That's why I remember them so well. And we wrote to each other many, many times over the years. And we were sitting with Scar and her two young males, and she moved off and disappeared. And I drove a little bit forward, I put my hat on the ground and I reversed. And both of them came along. Both of the cats came along. One grabbed one side of the hat and the other one grabbed the other side of the hat. And they pulled it slightly. And then I got worried that they were going to chew it up. So I shouted at them and they dropped it and retreated. And I ended up having two perfect sets of canine teeth, upper and lower, in the front of the hat, and at the back of the hat it was somewhat torn. So it was a great conversation piece until one night when I dropped the hat. I'll get to that now. I just want to see. It looks like the leopard might have disappeared. Oh well, we lost it. Graham is there looking. I thought it was a little bit less time, but we've had elephants. We've had good leopard this week. We might find leopard later. Maybe it's moved up this way. I believe it was in a tree earlier, back there. Oh yes, that one. I was just waiting. Okay, give me a minute. So it was about a year or two later, I think it was maybe even 2 years later, yeah. Same lion, funnily enough. It was actually quite a horrific night. We were with Scar and her two, by now they were sub-adult males. and they were on a huge open area, a place we called Open 45 on what is now Lion Sands down in the Southern Sabi Sands. And she was hunting, they were hunting giraffe. Now, ordinarily a lioness and her two sub-adult males don't really have much chance with giraffe, but there just happened to be two newborns in this group of giraffe that we'd been watching for a couple of days that pretty much stayed around that open area because of the newborns. They weren't traveling much. And it was weird because she struck at the herd. Well, she made her play for one of them. She managed to bring down the one young giraffe. And of course the one young male was immediately on top of it with her. And as the other young male was running towards them, the other young giraffe practically ran into him, and he just jumped up and pulled it down. And being a little bit inexperienced, he was biting on the back of the head rather than on the throat to strangle it. It wasn't too far away from them. It was only about 20-30 yards away. But he was expecting his brother and his mother to come and crowd him on this kill, thinking that he was going to have to protect it from them. And you could actually see him turn his head and look in their direction with this giraffe in his mouth, this baby giraffe. And he noticed that they had their own giraffe, and he actually just dropped that calf. It was wounded, it was mortally wounded, and he ran over to them to feed with them. And of course this also happened to just be within 100 yards of the hyena den. The hyenas heard the commotion, and the hyena were there in a flash. And of course they summed up the situation very, very quickly. Saw mother and two young male lions on the one giraffe, and they saw this other youngster struggling, and fortunately the hyena plowed into the other young giraffe and put it out of its misery relatively quickly. But it was during that process during that excitement that I got a flat tire. No surprise. But hot summer evening, I was changing the tire only yards away from hyena that were pulling apart the baby giraffe on one side and mother and her two young male lion pulling apart another giraffe. And of course it was getting late, it was dark, had to be back for dinner. We were having what was called a bush braai. In other words, we were having an outside dinner, and we were driving a group, which means that I had to time my arrival there at the same time as the other two guides that were driving the rest of the group. Meanwhile I had this flat wheel, and I was getting frustrated, and I took my hat off and threw it on the ground so that I could finish changing the wheel quickly. And of course ended up jumping in the vehicle and driving off to get everybody to dinner on time, and left my hat behind. Needless to say, the first thing I did the next morning was to go back there to see what I could find, and the biggest piece I could find was a strip about 5 inches long, 4 or 5 inches long, and it just happened to be that one piece of strip that had the tear from the lion's tooth at the back. That was the end of that hatch. That was a Dorian. It wasn't one of these fancier Cobras. That was, well, it was in those days it was expensive. In those days we were paying 120 Rand for a Dorian, which I suppose these days is the equivalent of 1,000 to 1,200 Rand for an Akubra. I suppose that's one of the nicest ways that I've lost a hat. Or let's put it this way. I suppose that's a hat loss with a story. I've had other hat losses that don't have much of a story, like leaving it on the roof of a car in Hazyview and driving off. Going back 5 minutes later to find nothing. And trying to find somebody walking around town with my hat on. Never happened. So Gallagher shortcut. I was hoping to find a few more flowers and things today, but things are starting to wilt a little bit. Things are starting to show signs of being affected by this heat and dry condition that we've been having, the dry hot wind. So we do need some rain again fairly soon. Just to keep everything going, keep everything growing, and to bring the flowers out again. So, a bedtime story about a hat. And that was the last time I ever gave a hat to an animal. Now, sorry, lion, hyena, they're not going to touch my hats now. Not even humans touch my hats much. Oh gosh, our time, the hourglass, the sand in the hourglass has come to an end. I need one of those hourglasses that they had in Harry Potter movie. The more stimulating the conversation, the slower the sand fell through the hourglass. I think that's the way it works. So, just before we get to Voertaler Access Road, I'm going to have to say goodbye, good night, sweet dreams, see you tomorrow, if you're going to bed now. Otherwise we'll see you today later, this afternoon, 4 p.m. our time here in Africa. Call it Central African time. Why don't say South African time? Because we don't have, it's not like we have different time zones in South Africa. Well, that is a very wide country. You would think that they might have actually given us different time zones, because Cape Town is slightly different. It's far enough west to be on. Never mind. We're on one time zone in South Africa. It's 4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll see you again. Becky on camera, Tara in FC, and myself sitting here with my box of books, my camera bump, binoculars, and hopefully a memory full of answers that I can give you. Bye everyone, have fun.